Chris, Roll Tide, it's great to see you. We enjoyed being back at Saban Field this past Saturday, especially getting to see Alabama really empty the roster in that impressive win against Mercer. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, and you're right, Roger. To me, look, I know it's not the road trip to LSU. I know it's not, um, you know, the home game that the Iron Bowl will be here in a couple of weeks, but that to me is one of the more meaningful weeks of the year for one of the reasons you talked about. I saw so many people and talked to them because we mentioned it or I mentioned it during the pregame. Uh, how as a kid that equivalent game was the first one I got to attend, and there were so many people that reached out to me either directly that day or through social media, email, whatever, and said, "Hey, thank you," because you're right. It was the first time for us, or it's the one game each year that I can take my kid to, and it is meaningful. It is special. But at the same time, it's the one game that so many of these kids that work so hard during the year on the Alabama roster get a get a fighting chance at getting in the ball game, and it's almost a Rudy type moment for them. For those that remember the movie, and they'll never forget it, and the teammates love it. And the thing is, for that moment to happen, you have to go out and execute. If you're a starter, second string guy, you've got to go execute at a high level to put that game away so that those guys can get a chance. And if you don't do your job, then they don't get an opportunity. And I think that's the really cool thing about it is that, look, these guys, the Jalen Milrose know what will lie ahead if they take care of business. But in this game, the motivation is to play well so you can get the day off, the second half off, and go enjoy your teammates and celebrate them. And for that reason, or those reasons, I thought it was a really cool day. It didn't help that it was 70 degrees and not a cloud in the sky either. And it made for a really special afternoon, I thought.
Weather's going to be a little bit different coming up this week for the Crimson Tide as we make the trip to Norman, Oklahoma. Just first of all, you've been to Norman before. Just tell us
Yeah,
what we can expect in the environment Alabama's walking into.
yeah, they fit. They care about the game. Now, granted, it's been 20 years since I've been there. Actually, more than that, it was the 2000 season. I think we went. Tyler was the quarterback, um, and a great ball game. Two of the most storied in the history of the game, and it there's a lot of respect on both sides. They've got a great color scheme. We respect that. So I think it will be fun. The matchup itself up until kickoff. I think their fans will be glad to have us there. There'll be some probably good natured stuff said back and forth, but it's new enough from a conference standpoint, first ever meeting, that I think it'll be fun, exciting for everybody. Hope the weather looks a little better than it did when we saw the initial forecast a few days ago, but still it'll be cooler and hopefully good weather. But it will be a really special atmosphere. This will be a tough game. I know their record has not been what you'd expect it for an Oklahoma team to have, and they're not happy about it. But this is one of those that can give them something to hang their hat on if they can beat Alabama and knock us uh, out of the SEC championship game picture and probably out of the college football playoff picture as well, should they get the win over the Tide.
One more on football. The defense for Alabama. I know Mercer did grab one touchdown on a one-handed catch. That was pretty impressive. But I mean, this defense continues, no matter the opponent, keeping teams out of the end zone. It's nice to go into these final two games of the regular
Yeah.
season with Kane Womack's group playing like it is right now.
Yeah. And, uh, I thought they did some things very early, Roger, defensively in terms of personnel that raised some eyebrows. They played a lot of young guys really, really early. And I think it was with the anticipation, you know what, you're probably going to need them. You better find a way to get them ready. And they've done that. We took our lumps. We had a couple of losses that people weren't expecting. the team wasn't happy about. They weren't expecting them, but it's helped make them better for this time of year. And uh, I am excited about how the defense looks and feel like they've taken some pressure off of the offense. When you go into a game not feeling like you have to score 40 in order to win a ball game, that may make it easier to score 40 for whatever reason. It just doesn't feel like every drive that ends with a punt is a bad drive. And we've heard the philosophy for years that any drive that ends with a kick is a good one. It's a positive one. But I think we're seeing that a punt is not a bad thing right now at all, because your defense can help you and get that ball back for you without giving up any points. And again, dropping 40 at a minimum is not a requirement for this team to win football games.
And then we look to basketball. The men's basketball team traveled to Purdue this past Friday, fell in a very tough environment against a good Purdue team. What do you expect the response will be from Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide coming up on Wednesday against Illinois?
It was part of the toughest schedule in the country, and he's not afraid to play that schedule because he knows he's got a team that can manage it. And what that means is not necessarily winning every game, but being able to stand the test and understand that, okay, when you get to March and hopefully April, it's only going to be good teams left, and you're going to have to face them in succession. Granted, it'll be, only a 1 day break in between as opposed to a week or a half week as we're dealing with in this game with Illinois. But you want to face good competition. You want to face the best you can face that actually helps you get better. You don't worry about padding the record. The old deal of 20 wins and, hey, I'm in the tournament, that's out the window. You need to be battle tested. This team will be an NCAA tournament team. They need to go play and see where they are. And I think they learned that they've got some deficiencies, that against better teams, you got to play for 40 minutes. I don't think the roster has any deficiencies. I don't think the game is lacking, but I think they've got to, when threes are up going halfway down and popping out, or other shots are going halfway down, popping out, you still got to do a better job on the glass, and you've got to make sure you get second chance opportunities. And they also learned a big lesson that just because a guy's not on the scouting report is a major threat doesn't mean they're not going to be. And you got to be able to adjust on the fly. Purdue had some guys that did that in that ball game, and in that environment, which you were there, and you would be able to speak better than I, but I've been there before, and it's as tough as you'll find anywhere. So, where they're going to go into hostile places in the league and in other games, and they'll be better prepared for it because of what they faced. And now going in to take on Illinois, there's a checklist of things that they need to work on. But the good news is they'll be able to do it in front of friendly faces instead of a hostile place like Mackey.
We look forward to that coming up on Wednesday in Birmingham. Look forward as well to Hey Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show on Wednesday night as well, getting us ready for that road trip to Oklahoma. Chris Stewart, just thank you so much for the time you've given us here today on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. And safe travels. We'll see you in Norman. Roll Tide.
Thank you, buddy. Roll Tide.